Good morning, vinyl community. Jeff here. Yeah, it's early Monday morning. We gotta get back to work. But I figured before I actually put my nose to the grindstone, I'd do a quick video. Because yesterday, on Sunday, we had to drop my daughter off at a birthday party over on the other side of town. Now, we live on like a peninsula type, near a peninsula area. I grew up over there, and you have to go through a big tunnel and lots of traffic. But occasionally we get to that side of town. My brother lives over there, and I have friends that live over there, but we don't go over there that much. So I'm like, well, this is a good opportunity. It's a Sunday afternoon. We had to run right over there after church and drop her off. And my wife's like, you want to go check and see if there's any record stores? Seems like she's buttering me up or something to take me to a record store. Now anyway, so she's like, well, let's go see what they got over there. I know there's a store that I've heard about. A friend told me he saw it, and I read up online about it. That's been there for like almost 30 years. So that's where we were headed. We were headed to that part of town. And as we're getting there, approaching it, my wife is looking it up, and she's like, I'm not sure they're open. One site says they're permanently closed. I said, well, the site that I saw said they were open. But anyway, we got there, and they weren't open. So she did a quick little Google search and found that there was a store real close to that one. So we went there, and I've never heard of the place before, and I totally forgot the name now. My friend told me last night. I think it's like Charles and Second. It sounds like a department store. But anyway, it turns out that it really looks like a Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, kind of more like a Books A Million, where they have it almost looks like a Ollie's too, which is a discount store. Lots and lots of shelves of books, lots and lots of racks of music, and they had lots and lots of records. Big store, and new stuff and old stuff. Anyway, I went right for the records. I thought, well, let's see what they got. And I'm seeing stuff as I'm passing on the shelves and on the racks. It looked like your normal stuff. I mean, they had displayed like Motorhead and stuff like that, but it was new sealed things, and I'm picking them up, and everything is $30 plus. I'm like, okay, this is going to be typical, kind of like a Barnes & Noble, but they did have a lot of used stuff. So I go right to the section for heavy metal. I went right there, and boom, immediately this caught my eye. Show No Mercy by Bride. Now, it was still in shrink wrap, but the shrink wrap, they had taped the edge of the shrink wrap to hold it to the edge of the thing. I carefully peeled it off, but it had already damaged a little bit there. But so the cover was in pristine condition because of the shrink wrap, which I did take off. And I opened it up to check the album, because I always do that when I buy used records. And it was in pristine condition. Now, if you're not familiar with Bride, this is an early Christian metal release. And they wanted a little bit more on this than I really wanted to pay, but when I looked it up, it was $10 cheaper than anywhere I could find online, Discogs or whatever. So I'm like, I'm going to get it. Even though the Bride era stuff from this point has started to be reissued on vinyl. The third album came out. This is the first album. The third album was released, last year or before, and the later ones after that are about to come out. So I am almost sure that the first and second albums are going to be reissued, but I had to grab this. It was in the wild. Then I get home and I take out in the insert, the lyric sheet on the inside says, thanks a lot, Jewel. Hope you enjoy. Troy T. So it was actually autographed by the guitar player. So thank you, Jewel, for passing that along. But yeah, I mean, it's a classic. It's a classic that I've been looking for. Wanted to get on vinyl for a long time. It's on the Pure Metal label. But so yes, I immediately thought, great, score. So I grabbed that. Kept flipping in the metal. Grabbed this. I don't think I ever even knew this was out. This is the Quiet Riot. This is their fourth album. This is the one where they got, Kevin DuBrow was gone, and Paul Shortino was in the band. They had a new bass player. Little bit more on the commercial side than some of their other stuff, and it was brand new, 180 gram. It says it didn't have a date on it. I didn't know when it got reissued. I didn't stop and look it up. The price was in a decent category of what you would expect to buy a brand new 180 gram record. Turns out when I got home and looked it up, this came out, I guess they released it in like 2013. So I totally was unaware. Haven't seen it ever online. I guess by the time I started collecting again, it was probably hard to find. And it's not on Amazon. Well, on Amazon, it's like somebody's selling it for like $40-something. So I grabbed that because it was definitely not $40-something. Now, I started looking through just A to Z. I went through the Kiss section, found nothing, but for some reason in the General K section on another side of the park, outside of where they should have been, I found this. This is a bootleg. This was brand new, and again, The price was a typical new record price, and then I looked it up online and I thought, well, that's a couple dollars cheaper than I could find it online, like on Discogs, and then you add shipping to the Discogs price. So it was reasonably priced. It is a bootleg from, a company like in the Netherlands. It's a FM radio broadcast, Black Wax. I've seen it around. I've seen it in all kinds of formats. I've actually seen it as a double disc, so I don't know if this show's supposed to be longer. This one's only got 10 songs on it, but it's The Ritz on Fire, Live at the Ritz, 1988. It's that lineup in the 80s that was really good. So I thought I'd grab that. Then I started looking and just got through a lot of used stuff. And it wasn't until I got to the very end, they had a section called New Used. In other words, stuff they had just gotten in. And I went through the A's through Z's and didn't find anything. I went through the new stuff, the newly acquired used stuff, and was flipping and boom, boom, boom. And most of the records there are $5 to $7. So it's really one of the cheapest stores when it comes to used records than all the ones here in Virginia Beach, which all tend to be $8 and up. So they did have things that were and up, but a lot of the stuff and everything I bought was in the $5 to $6 range. The first one that caught my mind, and this was like, I don't want to say it's a grail, but this is like an album that I absolutely loved. Have looked at it online a few times, never really purchased it. It's not expensive, but to find it in the wild, I was just like ecstatic. I grabbed it. And most people probably have no clue who Archangel is. Now I bought this album back in the 80s as a teenager just based on the thought the cover was cool. It looked kind of like it might be hard rock. It turns out it's really AOR. I don't know a whole lot about them. All I know is I loved this album. It is smooth. It is wonderfully produced. It is keyboard driven. I want to describe it as the syrupy kind of stuff that Bon Jovi would do. The guy, Jeff Kanata, I guess I'm pronouncing his name right, has done a lot of vocal styles, and he is an amazing vocalist, just smooth. And anyway, fell in love with this album. The song, there's a lot of like love type songs on here. I've used them for mixtapes, and yeah, it's one of those albums that just oozes with wonderful production, wonderful smooth commercial songs, and I have loved this album since the 80s. Tracked it down on CD when it came out in the CD world, when it there, and now that I'm back into vinyl, I had to get it, but I just had not ever really tracked it down. I looked online and they're only $3 to $5, so I bought it in the wild. That's what I'm looking for, buying stuff in the wild, because then it just feels like you're not really out there shopping online where you can get everything. You're actually running across it. So yeah, this was like the highlight of my day. Aside from The Bride, this was like, oh, I can't believe I found this in the wild. If you don't know these guys, and there is another Archangel album that came out like in the past X amount of years, 10 years or so. It's like he went back and did another one. Now the thing that I also noticed about this is every one of the albums I was checking as I was opening up, this is one of the used ones. All the used ones I'm opening up because I do. And I'm telling you, mint. Every album, I'm going to show you, every album that I picked up was mint. I'm like, these guys have to have a record cleaner. Not a speck of dirt, fingerprint, or anything. Every album. But I'm going to tell you something about that in a minute. Ran across some Blackfoot, Siogo. Again, these are just more or less fillers. I wanted to get some, I don't think I have any other Blackfoot, so I wanted to grab this. Again, pristine clean. This was the first one I found. And I always liked this album because, is it really a Blackfoot album? I think it's supposed to be a Rick Medlock album, and then a solo album, and then they added and Blackfoot. I remember finding this on CD many years ago after the fact. I got into Southern rock pretty late in the game. By the time I always have known and listened to bands like Skinner and stuff. And, you grew up listening to the Blackfoot stuff. But when I started actually buying Southern rock myself, started buying the CDs and stuff, he had joined Skinner. So we're talking in the 90s already. And I saw him in concert a couple times. So I was, Ricky Medlock was part of Skinner, but I knew he was the founder. So Blackfoot was long gone by then. So I found this. I thought this was cool. So when I found this yesterday, I thought it was, it was good to go ahead and start there. And again, spotless. So I grabbed a couple of those. Angel, I only have I think one other Angel. The one common one that you see out there in the wild all the time, white hot. And so finally got me Sinful. A Ted Nugent album I didn't have. It's the only one they had, so I grabbed it. And I will say, I didn't. By the time I got to this point in the game, I stopped checking the albums because every album that I purchased was minty fresh. Looks like they've been cleaned. And lo and behold, wouldn't you believe? No, this one, I don't know if you can see it, it's got marks on it. It's dirty. There's some scuff marks on here. Actually, see if you can see those in there. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, you can see some like scuff marks. It was in when I got home and started examining these, I'm like, oh man, I guess they don't have something, or these newly received didn't all get done. I don't know. And then the other one I found, which was also a great find, was UFO. And again, and this one had has a notch on the front. Looks like somebody smashed it. But again, the album has got a lot of fingerprints and dirt on it. It's nothing that can't be cleaned up, but it's kind of like, now I got to clean it up. At least when I got the other ones, they looked like they'd been cleaned. They were really, really clean. And then the only other one I grabbed is Spyro Gyra. I'm a big Spyro Gyra fan. They're probably one of my favorite contemporary jazz bands. I've seen them in concert a handful of times because we lived in New York when I was really into them. And I keep hesitating buying the stuff on vinyl because a lot of times you find it's always $7, $8, $9. And I know that's not a lot, but I'm like, how much am I, whatever. This one was only like $4, and my wife's like, you have to buy it because she's a big Spyro Gyra fan too. So I want to start getting their stuff on vinyl, but just hadn't started pulling the trigger on buying a lot of that stuff I keep turning it down when I see it because it just tends to be a couple dollars more, and then I find so many other things I want, which I did in this case, and I almost put it back because I thought I got like 10 albums, and my wife's like, no, you have to buy it. So anyway, yeah, it was a great day yesterday. Spent a little time there, went through their whole selection, and it was really cool. I'm kind of glad. Again, mostly $4 to $6 for all that stuff, which was really good. And then I found they had some bootlegs there too, other bootlegs. I'm like, how are they carrying this? Lots of AC/DC bootlegs and things like that. So I'm not sure how they got those type of things in there. And most of them were in the $25 to $28 range, though I did see some in the $30 to $40. So anyway, that's all for now, though. I got more coming for sure. Thanks for watching. Be kind to each other. Rock on. Rock hard.